In every age of human civilization, societies believed their greatest threats came from earthquakes, storms, diseases, or foreign enemies. Yet history shows something far more unsettling. Some of the most devastating collapses, shortages, and panics were not born in the chaos of nature, but in the minds of powerful individuals who learned to turn instability into an industry. Long before the modern world understood economics, a select elite understood something deeper: that fear itself could become one of the most profitable assets ever created. Our story begins in the quiet spaces before every major crisis, the calm before the storm, the silence before the markets tremble. These are the moments when the ultra-rich prepare. Their world does not move with the public news cycle. It moves with early signals, subtle shifts in commodities, sudden dryness in liquidity, unexplained changes in shipping routes, unusual trading volumes, or quiet meetings that leave no trace except in the consequences they unleash. The truth is not new. For centuries, merchant kings and industrial barons manipulated scarcity to magnify their control. When Europe faced grain shortages in the 18th century, records revealed warehouses secretly filled with grain being intentionally locked to raise prices. During the early oil monopolies of the 20th century, energy shocks were often preceded by coordinated supply reductions. Even wartime profiteers understood that scarcity creates desperation, and desperation creates opportunity. But with globalization, the scale changed. Crises were no longer confined to regions. They could ripple across continents in days. Supply chains spanning oceans became vulnerable to deliberate pressure. Markets tracking billions of dollars could be sent into chaos with just a few coordinated financial moves. And the individuals with access to these levers were no longer kings or emperors. They were billionaires. Their greatest advantage? Information. By owning newspapers, broadcast networks, research institutions, data companies, and now digital platforms, the modern billionaire wields a weapon far more powerful than gold: narrative control. If the public can be convinced that danger is coming, markets will fall even before the crisis begins. If the public can be convinced that scarcity is inevitable, prices will rise long before shortages appear. This isn't conspiracy, it's a pattern, one repeated across every major economic collapse. Take the Great Depression. Early reports later revealed that elite investors exited the market weeks before the public crash. During the 1970s oil crisis, geopolitical tensions were amplified by production slowdowns that created panic across the West. In 2008, executives sold billions in assets while publicly insisting the system was stable. The world sees crisis as random, but the ultra-rich see it as a cycle: predictable, repeatable, controllable. Tonight, we peel back the curtain on the machinery of manufactured crises. We explore how billionaires learn to influence supply, demand, fear, legislation, markets, and media, not by accident, but by design. This is not the story of one crisis, one billionaire, or one moment. It is the story of a system built across centuries, refined in boardrooms, perfected through technology, and hidden behind complexity. The world has always been told that crises begin with accidents. But what if many begin with calculations? What if the instability that destroys millions of lives starts with a whisper in a private room, spoken by those who profit from the aftermath? Tonight, we enter that room. To uncover how crises are manufactured, we must examine the patterns, the fingerprints left behind in every major collapse. These patterns stretch back decades, resurfacing again and again in events the public believed were natural, random, or unavoidable. Yet beneath the surface lies a chilling consistency. Pattern 1. The billionaire media funnel. In earlier centuries, industrial barons secretly funded newspapers to control public opinion. Today, billionaires outright own them. The same individuals who hold major stakes in banks, energy companies, tech giants, and global supply chains also control the flow of information, shaping public perception. When the narrative shifts from optimism to uncertainty, from stability to fear, markets respond instantly. A single media cycle can wipe billions off stock valuations. A strategic wave of doubt can destabilize entire sectors. Fear, broadcast at scale, becomes a tool. Pattern 2, strategic scarcity, a timeless weapon. Throughout history, scarcity has been engineered to create panic. Grain merchants in France withheld food to raise prices. Oil conglomerates orchestrated production cuts in the 20th century. Even in recent years, supply chains have been disrupted in ways that coincidentally benefited specific investors positioned to profit. Shipping delays, resource shortages, procurement bottlenecks, all can be triggered by a few key players. It takes only a small reduction in supply to create massive psychological and economic shockwaves. Scarcity is not just about goods, it is about control. Pattern 3. Market manipulation and financial timing. From the 1929 crash to the dot-com bubble to the 2008 mortgage collapse, one detail stands out: the wealthy exit early. Not because they predict the future through luck, but because they understand market signals earlier than the public. They have teams of analysts, data scientists, insiders, algorithms, and private intelligence networks. They see the tremors before the earthquake. History shows a sequence. First, unusual trading activity, then quiet sell-offs. Next, media tone shifts, then political tension or manufactured panic, and finally, full collapse. Meanwhile, the same individuals who cashed out re-enter the market at the bottom, buying assets at a fraction of their value. Pattern 4, legislation as a trigger mechanism. Billionaires do not merely react to policy, they often shape it. Lobbying, political donations, private meetings, advisory groups, and high-level connections allow them to influence laws that weaken protections, deregulate sectors, or create the perfect conditions for volatility. A single legislative change, removing lending restrictions, reducing oversight, loosening controls, can lead to catastrophic results. Yet while society pays the price, those who engineered the environment faced no consequences. Pattern 5, psychological manipulation. No crisis becomes global without fear, and fear is carefully managed through selective news coverage, dramatic economic headlines, viral panic on social media, predictions from billionaire-funded analysts, public statements crafted to spark uncertainty. When people panic, they stop thinking logically. They sell at losses, they hoard goods, they accept policies they would have rejected in calm times. Billionaires understand this better than anyone because they study human behavior at scale through analytics, platforms, and data systems they own. Pattern 6, rescue narrative and power expansion. Once a crisis peaks, the same elites who benefited from the collapse often present themselves as rescuers. They offer capital, buy distressed companies, propose reforms, or fund solutions that give them even more influence. Every collapse becomes a ladder, allowing them to climb higher. By the end of each crisis, two things are true. 1. Ordinary people lose wealth. 2. Billionaires gain it. This pattern is not accidental, it is structural. Crisis is not just an event. To the ultra-rich, it is a strategy. Every crisis leaves scars on the world. Families lose savings. Businesses collapse. Workers face unemployment. Communities fracture. And while governments scramble to stabilize the fallout, a silent transfer of power takes place. Wealth concentrates upward, influence deepens, and systems become even more vulnerable to the next manufactured shock. The aftermath is not just economic, it is psychological. People begin to distrust institutions, governments, and even each other. Once fear becomes embedded in society, it becomes easier to manipulate. And every crisis reinforces a dangerous belief that ordinary people are powerless. But history also teaches us something else. Systems built on manipulation eventually reach a breaking point. If current patterns continue unchecked, the future may unfold in predictable stages. Stage 1, rising volatility. Supply chains grow more fragile, markets become more sensitive, and small disruptions trigger massive effects. Billionaires exploit these weaknesses through coordinated investments, media narratives, and political influence. Stage 2, global dependency. As corporations acquire more assets, essential services, food, water, housing, transportation, communication, become concentrated in fewer hands. With every crisis, more systems move under private control. Stage 3. Manufactured instability. Future crises may become more frequent, precisely timed and globally synchronized. Whether through economic pressure, technological disruptions, or geopolitical manipulation, instability becomes a resource to be harvested. Stage 4. The illusion of rescue. When systems collapse, billionaires step forward as philanthropists, innovators, or saviors. But with each rescue, the price is more influence, more data, more ownership. Stage 5. Silent consolidation. The ultimate endgame is not money. It is control. Control of markets, information, technology, governments, and populations. Yet the documentary ends not with fear, but with awareness. Because cycles break the moment people understand them. Transparency disrupts manipulation, education weakens fear, and collective knowledge is a weapon far more powerful than financial leverage. The final message is not a warning, it is a revelation. Not every crisis is natural. Not every collapse is fate, and not every disaster is an accident. Because the greatest illusion the ultra-rich ever created was convincing the world that they had nothing to do with the crises that made them powerful.